what's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao with the latest news to help you start off your week. Chip-making giant TSMC opened its first Japanese fab over the weekend. It's part of the firm's closely watched global expansion. Our reporter Joyce Zun joins us live from Kumamoto. That's the prefecture where they've set up shop. Joyce, what's it like on the ground there?
It was a highly anticipated weekend here in Kumamoto. I'm at the city center with one of its landmarks here behind me, the Kumamoto Castle. And even though we're about an hour's drive from the TSMC site, its impact can be felt here and in fact across the prefecture. Locals tell me that's been the case since 2021 when TSMC first announced that it would be coming here. Now, at the opening ceremony, some local residents even showed up at the front gate hoping to go inside. But of course, it was a tightly guarded event with several VIPs and a lot at stake for the plant.
JASM open desu. Dozo.
A factory opening like no other. World-leading chipmaker TSMC's first Japanese fab is now the country's most advanced facility of its kind. It's operating under the local subsidiary's name, JASM, a joint venture with minority stake partners including Sony and Denso, and subsidized by the Japanese government. TSMC founder and chips legend Morris Chang said he has high hopes for the collaboration.
Jasmine will, I believe, improve the resiliency of chip supply. I hope and I believe also start a renaissance of semiconductor manufacturing in Japan.
This is just the start. TSMC will build a second JASM fab later this year, with Toyota joining the partnership in what's become an overall investment of over $20 billion in Kumamoto. TSMC's celebration is an important early win in its uphill battle to expand outside of Taiwan, amid global urgency to secure advanced chips, the brains behind everything digital. Looking beyond its fabs in Taiwan and China, the contract chipmaker has ongoing projects in Japan's Kumamoto, the US's Arizona, and Germany's Dresden. It's pulled off this Japan fab with notable speed, opening just 2 years after breaking ground, unlike its Arizona project, still delayed despite having almost a year's head start over the Kumamoto site.
They basically avoided making a lot of the early mistakes they made in Arizona. They weren't on a leading edge node where TSMC was still trying to figure out the process in Taiwan and then trying to export it to America, where at Kumamoto you had the advantage of the technology. They understood it, they knew how it worked, they knew how to implement it.
In Kumamoto, the JASM site will start with 22, 28, 12, and 16 nanometer nodes, chips needed by automakers, an important industry for Japan. The second fab is set to offer 6 and 7 nanometer nodes, with both fabs combined expected to create over 3,400 new jobs. Local industry insiders say JASM could help revive Japan's chip sector, which last topped global charts in the 90s.
Japanese tech industry is like a flying plane without a moving engine. That means gradually the plane will going down. JASM will be the one of the key point for such kind of Japanese industry to have the way to ignite the engine again.
Getting Japanese chips back in the game now is not just in Tokyo's interest. It'd also be a boon for Washington, who's resorted to sweeping export controls amid a battle for tech supremacy with Beijing.
Both the US and Japan, regardless of who's in the government, is really going to be highly focused on working together to counter threats coming out of China and having a secure supply chain. TSMC as well, given their investments in somewhat legacy technology in the US and in Japan, shows that US and Japan are willing to work with Taiwanese companies because they are the world leaders. But at the end of the day, we really want to avoid a lot of these supply chain crunches.
With TSMC now in its backyard, Japan has some of the best tools in the industry to up its game and secure its stake in the lucrative and critical semiconductor supply chain. At At the ceremony, Japan said that it would be giving TSMC an additional $4.8 billion for its second fab, and people here in Kumamoto have high hopes that it can help boost the local economy as well.
Now, TSMC's arrival in Kumamoto, it's going to cause a major spike in demand for resources, especially water, which is a huge priority for chip makers. What are they doing on that front?
Water is definitely a big issue of discussion. Kikuyo, the town where TSMC has set up, is a farming town, and so agriculture and semiconductors, they're both water-intensive industries. Now, when I spoke to the Kikuyo town mayor, Yoshimoto Takatoshi, he said that he's working hard to secure water for both, but that it would take the joint effort of local governments across the prefecture. Now, TSMC's chair, Mark Liu, has pledged to conserve more water than they use. And now that the plant is open, we'll start seeing how this plays out.
Thank you, Joyce. That was Joyce Jung joining us live from Kumamoto, Japan, and she'll be bringing us more stories on how life has changed there with TSMC's arrival. So be sure to stay tuned to TaiwanPlus all this week. More Chinese ships are patrolling around Taiwan's Kinmen Islands. Beijing says they're there to protect fishers after a fatal collision between a Chinese fishing boat and a Taiwanese Coast Guard vessel earlier this month. John Van Trieste has this update.
China is flexing its muscles in the seas around Taiwan's Kinmen Islands. A former naval frigate used by China's Coast Guard dwarfs the Taiwanese ship sent to trail it. And there are at least 5 more Chinese ships patrolling nearby. China claims Kinmen as well as Taiwan, and these ships are here to enforce Chinese law. Kinmen lies within sight of China's coast, and Chinese fishing boats frequent the area, despite Taiwan's Coast Guard maintaining a no-go zone around the island. When a fishing boat breached that zone on February 14th, a Taiwan Coast Guard vessel gave chase. 2 of the 4 Chinese fishers on board died in the pursuit that followed. Taiwan's Coast Guard says the 2 boats collided when the fishers swerved to try and get away. But the 2 surviving fishers deny the Coast Guard's account and say they were rammed. Officials from Taiwan have met with the families of the fishers 7 times, but have turned down their requests to return the bodies and the boat. They say their investigation into the crash is a domestic legal matter. China has responded by deploying warships near Kinmen. It says it'll patrol the waters, identify passing boats, and protect fishers. With official talks going nowhere, the lawmaker representing Kinmen wants to open informal back channels to China.
透过这种公益性质的这种民间组织经由这一次的这样的沟通，启动这个模式，实际上是两岸沟通一个好的开始。
But this idea hasn't yet gotten anywhere.
到目前为止，大陆红卫他们都还没接到上级的任何一个通报跟通知，请他们来做协助这样子。所以说我们一直没办法跟他做一个对口一个协助。
Taiwan has asked China to respect the legal investigation into the incident now underway. But China's response shows that this may not be something it's prepared to do. Delphine Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's foreign ministry has congratulated Tuvalu's next prime minister, Feleti Teo. The former attorney general received unanimous support from the country's 16 lawmakers. He replaces Kaohsiung Natano, who supported continued diplomatic recognition of Taiwan. Now, this election has been closely watched here in Taipei because Tuvalu is one of Taiwan's 12 remaining diplomatic allies and one of the only 3 in the Pacific. Teo's stance on Taiwan is unclear, but Taiwan's foreign ministry says Teo is a friend to Taiwan and that relations are stable. 3 Taiwanese men have been arrested in Cambodia for drug trafficking. Cambodian police say the men were caught with 16 kilograms of the drug ecstasy. They're now working with Taiwanese authorities who are investigating whether the 3 plan to smuggle the drugs into Taiwan. This bust is the 2nd time in recent weeks that Taiwanese nationals have been arrested in Cambodia. A Taiwanese live streamer and an accomplice were recently handed 2-year sentences for faking their own kidnapping in the country. Several people are injured and a building destroyed after Lantern Festival celebrations here in Taiwan. A house in Rinling County was destroyed after it caught fire while a temple parade set off fireworks nearby. Meanwhile, a firework injured 3 people after it misfired during celebrations in Tainan. Organizers say the fireworks had been checked beforehand and they've apologized for the injuries. The dark past of one of Taiwan's most prominent government buildings was memorialized in a ceremony this morning. Tiffany Wong was there.
Ahead of the 77th anniversary of the 228 incident here in Taiwan, this office building of Taiwan's cabinet has been designated as a site of historical injustice. The building, which was the former site of the office of the Taiwan Provincial Administration, was one of many sites around Taiwan where military police fired on anti-government civilians in what became known as the 228 incident. It's one of dozens of recognized sites of historical injustice around the country, part of ongoing efforts to recognize atrocities committed not so long ago in Taiwan's past, and pay homage to the victims of government-sanctioned violence and oppression during the 228 incident and martial law period, which left thousands dead. Taiwan's premier said the new designation will serve as a reminder of Taiwan's struggles to achieve democracy.
虽然还有未尽之处，但是我们勇于直视历史的错误，并且将持续努力为台湾的民主打造更加和平、更加公义的乐土。让我们把行公义、好怜悯、长存谦卑的心放在我们的心上。
Today, descendants of victims of the 228 incident were also present at the dedication ceremony, placing white lilies to honor their memory. The cabinet has installed a new plaque and tools to help visitors learn more about the site and serve as a reminder that democracy requires reflection, even on the darkest parts of history. Andy Shi and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
31,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed in the war against Russia, according to a statement given by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. That figure comes as the country marks the second anniversary of Russia's invasion in 2022. It's the first official death count released in over a year. Zelenskyy refused to disclose the number of Ukrainian wounded in fear of benefiting Russian planning. Russia has kept its own losses secret. Firefighters are working to contain a massive bushfire that's tearing through the Australian state of Victoria ahead of extreme fire conditions later this week. The blaze, near the city of Ballarat, has swept over 17,000 hectares of land over 5 days, destroying 6 homes and forcing more than 2,000 people to evacuate from nearby suburbs. It's one of over a dozen bushfires in the area. More than half of the southern state is on high alert amid extreme fire conditions, with forecasts for temperatures of over 40 degrees and strong winds in the next few days. Australia's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, has pledged to help the state.
We will provide whatever support is requested from Victoria. These are difficult times, and I say to people, listen to the advice of the authorities.
Taiwan's known for its lush subtropical jungles, but native plant species are being squeezed out by invasive ones brought in by humans. One national park has brought in volunteers to fight back. These princess vines look beautiful, with their aerial roots swaying and glistening in the sunlight. But this plant is not native to Taiwan, and it's spreading rapidly.
因为土被它抢了，阳光被它抢了，什么都没有，所以这些植物就没有办法再生长出来。
A recent report says the princess vine is just one of some 380 invasive species found in Kaohsiung Sosan National Nature Park. That's a huge amount compared to the 500 native species there. And these foreign plants were brought in by people.
像柴山有什么里长休息区，有秘密花园啊，有这2个地方。那这个都其实就是民众拿家里的植物来种的。
These invasive species have spread rapidly over the past few years, so the park has called for volunteers to help halt that spread.
如果我们现在不开始控制它的数量的话，那未来可能会很严重，可能会到整个林下通都慢慢都是它。
It's not just plants being crowded out by the newcomers. Many native insect species rely on indigenous flora to survive. So if the native plants go, so do the bugs. Conservationists are calling on people to stop planting foreign species, to leave room for native species to thrive. That piece was by me and videographer Leon Lien. Kaohsiung has said goodbye to the 2 giant rubber ducks on display in the city's Love River Bay. The ducks attracted more than 9 million visitors during their month-long stay, which ended with a special send-off event on Sunday. City officials say they drew over 200,000 guests each day and boosted the local economy by over $300 million. Thanks for watching What's Up Taiwan. I'm Eric Gao. We'll see you later.